most if I get rise. It is no longer your lips yet I apply. He gave up his life so I could walk in freedom. He paid up the price.
Hi, you all.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to Peachable Moments. I am your co-host, Nisi.
And I'm your other co-host, Jade.
Yes, and we are coming back at you all with another episode.
Yes.
So excited. I know it's been a minute.
It has. It's been like a month. Over that.
Life been life and life been life. But we are back with another episode. And we're actually excited about this one because we mapped this episode out a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely something we want to share with you all. And it's basically, you want to tell them about it?
Yes. So it's basically childlike faith. That's just like the name of the episode. And basically it just is like going back to your roots, like where you, that foundation when you first came and you encountered Christ.
Yes.
And basically how you were and trying to go back. Sometimes the fire burns out and you need to revamp it up. Like get that fire relit in you to have that childlike faith, to be hungry for the word, for the truth, for the knowledge, the word of the gospel.
Yes, so true. So true. So our starter question would be, what does it mean to be like a child or have a childlike faith to you?
Childlike faith. So for me,
well, I'm gonna re-question it, right?
Okay.
Because I would say, what does it mean to be like a child?
Okay, so I think to be like a child, from my understanding and just being a child, is you're very dependent on your parent. Like you listen to what they say. Yes. Sometimes you are disobedient, but like you just know whatever they tell you to do, like you do it. You don't really ask any questions. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but you're dependent upon them, and you listen to what they say, and you take what they say for granted, like not for granted, but for what it is. Right. And you know that 9 times out of 10, even though it's not what you want to hear sometimes, you know it's for your own good. They would never lead you astray or try to hurt you, and intentionally. Most parents.
True.
You?
I'm gonna dig a little deep real quick.
Okay.
I feel like being a child, or because we're not going to relate it to childlike faith right now, but I would just say just being a child or having childlike attributes or something like that would be, I would say it's kind of like an unconscious feeling, because when you're a child, you're kind of not developed enough to function from your conscious mind. So a lot of times you don't think about what you're doing, and a lot of times you're kind of self-centered around yourself. So I think sometimes with being a child, it could be like that. But also, like you said, depending on your parents, also defiant a little bit, or also curious. I know when I was a child, I used to ask a lot of questions. Like everything, I always ask questions. It don't matter what it was, and I used to be so annoying. But I think that's what it is about being a child, is always discovering and trying to find your own way eventually. So
yeah, I definitely agree, especially like when you said asking those questions, because I know like when you're a kid, you're like, your parent will say something like, well, why is this? Or you know how when you're just a kid, you're asking your mom like, or your dad, whoever, like, when were you born? How, like, what happened when I was a baby? Like when you're like old enough to ask those questions, and you're like in elementary, you're like, oh, well, why is this way, or why is it that way? And your parent gives you an answer, and you're like, but why? You just keep asking a million questions. I can just say that because I know, like, when I visited my cousin in Charlotte, like North Carolina, last weekend, she's like 9, almost 10, and she just asks so many questions. She's like, Jade, what about this? Well, what about this? How old are you? Jade, is this true that when my uncle, your dad, your uncle said this? Is that true? And I'm just like, yeah. And I just realized they ask a lot of questions.
They ask a lot of questions. Too many questions. Is that your real hair? Is that it? Like
why are you so short? Why are you not married? I'm like, okay, hold on.
Anxious. How old are you? My niece one time, she was just like, were you a slave? I said,
all right, hold on. Not doing Black History Month.
Not doing, girl. She asked me. I said, girl, get out this phone. I had told my other niece, and she's a little bit older. She knows better. I was just like, yeah, back in my day, we did something. I forgot what I said, but she was just like, y'all had lights? I was like, we wouldn't walk around with no candles. Like, girl,
I was born in the 90s. Don't try me like that.
Right. She tried me real bad. I was just like, but That's why I say unconscious, because a lot of times I'm thinking from a psychology point of view, because I took psychology in college. But your frontal lobe is not developed, so a lot of times when your frontal lobe is not developed, and sometimes when you experience like frontal lobe damage, like you say whatever it is on your mind. So
yeah, no filter.
No filter. So I learned that in psychology, and kids, their frontal lobe is not developed, so when they take things in, they don't really take it in at that moment, but it is something like they ask questions on and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's kids.
Kids are kids.
You gotta love them.
But as it relates to Christ, because Christ does encourage us to have a childlike faith.
Yes.
And for a long time I didn't get it, because I'm like, why would I want to have a childlike faith and I'm an adult?
Yeah, you know? Like I want to be mature. Like why would I want to go back to being a child? Like even though sometimes we may joke about like because life was easier when you were a child, but no, and by and large, like you don't really want to go back.
Yes, but it also goes back to like the very first thing you said was we have to listen to our father, listen to our parents. So the child looks up to that, and I feel like that's what Jesus is to us. He is our father, and we look up to him and go to him, because when I was a child and I had a boo-boo and I hurt myself or something like that, I would go to my mom. I would cry for my mom, or I would cry for my dad. So I think that's what Jesus was referring to in Matthew as regards to a childlike faith, because he wants us to come to him for everything.
Yes, and then one tidbit to add to that is like on the Lord's Prayer, he definitely tells it starts off with like our Father who art in heaven. So he already like he is our father, he's our shepherd, he's the one who guides us. And if you look at it in a biblical aspect, the father is the one who leads the family. He's head of the household. He's the one who sets the precedent of how everything should go. So that's pretty much how it is.
For sure. So we want to open up with a verse, and it says, and he said, I tell you the truth, unless you change and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like he is, like this child, the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, whoever welcomes a little child like this in my name will welcome me. And this is in Matthew 18:3-6. And I actually remember reading that because I think Peter, one of the disciples, were like arguing a little bit, and Jesus was just like, y'all need to be like this child right here. And it was like, why be like him? And that's when he said in Matthew 18:3-6 was like, you got to humble yourself.
Was it, okay, I might be wrong, but was it when they were arguing, they were following Jesus, and it was it like when they were arguing about who was going to be the second best, like they were like, who was going to follow Jesus? Was that then? It was like Matthew. I want to say it was not Matthew, but I want to say it was Peter and somebody else. They were like, okay, they were whispering amongst themselves, like, Jesus number one, okay, who's number two? Like, I'm number two. They were going back and forth. Was that when it was happening?
I think so. I do remember it was arguing, and Jesus was like, look at them. And they need to be just like this kid right here. They worry about the wrong thing.
Right. Hopefully that's right. If not, you can let us know. But I think that's where it came from.
Side note, I seen this TikTok and it was so funny. This girl was just like, Jesus, reading the Bible and learning more about Jesus and knowing that he had a sense of humor kind of like us, and Jesus did. Like he's so human. I love that. That's what I love about Jesus. But so what does that verse mean to you though when you hear it?
That's a lot to unpack, but the first thing that I really just remember is just like humble, like being humble. Like kids, typically kids when they're like little, they aren't really boastful, at least from my understanding, like of like seeing kids as being a kid, like you really aren't really that boastful. So just really just humbling yourself and really knowing that I might not know everything, but like even though you might think you do, you know you don't. So you always are going to your parents and asking them questions, and then whatever they say, you're taking it as verbatim. Like you know how when when you're a kid, you look up to your mom or your dad, and you definitely, whatever they say, it's just like, okay. So anything, when you go to school and people might be arguing and something like that, you just arguing certain things.
Yeah.
You know kind of where I'm going with this. Like, you just know that your parents, whatever they say in that moment is for your good.
It is for your good.
That's kind of how I look at it.
Yes. For me. For me, my understanding was I didn't want to understand. Like, I didn't want to have that child relationship with God, because it wasn't like I consciously wanted. It was more so like a subconscious thing for me, because it was just like, being a child, you really have to, or being a follower of Christ, you really have to surrender yourself to Christ. Like, you cannot keep doing the same things, or you can try, but if you're a really true follower of Christ, you're going to let those things go. Them things are not going to make sense to you. You're going to have a discernment to where, I need to stop doing that, or I'm not need to be doing that. But being a child is just, to me, that verse was in the beginning, is for me, I didn't want to understand it, because I was just like, but I understand it now. I want to be a child. I am a child of God. Yes. I want to put down everything and follow him. It's hard, but God knows that, and I think that's why he said he wants us to humble ourselves, and actually listen to what he has to say. And I think Jesus loves the effort that we put in for denying ourselves and picking up his ways.
Yes, and I wanted to add one final thing to that. It's like when you were saying about being a child and like learning and like getting rid of your old self, and that's why he tells us, because when you grow up, when you are a kid, as you grow up, you learn things, and you kind of learn the griminess of the world. When you're a kid, your parents protect you from that, and so that's how God wants us to be. Because when you've grown up, before you get saved, before you become like Christ, and he wants us to return back to that innocent type mindset when the world hasn't got to us, and we have that mindset of like, because as a kid, you don't really know the concept of like money, like greed, like
you don't,
all the crazy stuff that the world tells us, like being boastful. You don't know about that as a kid, but as you get older, you learn that. So that's why when he's saying like return back to your childlike faith, go back to like basically like a reset button. Yes, go back to like the factory reset. Yeah, that's what he kind of wants us to be.
Total reset.
Yeah, because like you said, you have to get rid of your old stuff, because when you're in the world, you're unfortunately, you're like dirty. You're like you're full of a whole bunch of sin and pride and all those crazy things. But like when you reset, you go back to being pure and sanctified. And set apart.
Set apart.
Yeah,
definitely. So. Definitely. You explained that really well.
I hope I did.
You did. And for a long time, I did not want to understand what that meant to be a child. Even like as a baby Christian, I was just like, I don't get that, like being, but I respect it, but I didn't get it. But now I get it so bad. Like when you're a child, and when I first started my walk with God, like I remember I was so excited and so on fire, and just like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I want to read more and all that type of stuff. And it reminds me of when I was a kid, and I would see something on TV that I like, and overindulge in it, and want to do this and want to do that, and it really is exciting. I think that's the exciting part about having a childlike faith as well.
I definitely agree.
I definitely and I still am, but when I just remember me learning more and more about Christ, like it was super exciting, because honestly, from my point of view, like growing up, I thought like Christ was like, of course he's the greatest. I always knew he was the greatest, and but I never knew he walked amongst people like myself, and he saved people like myself. He loved people like myself and others and things like that. So it was just so exciting in getting an understanding from my own. Well, it felt like one of them AR books. I was reading the Bible like
getting the AR points.
I felt like one of them.
How do they? I don't know if they still do that.
Hopefully, they probably don't. I'm telling my age.
Right. Saying like you just definitely told our age.
I said this felt like a little AR book. Not a little, but the Bible felt really good. Like
it did.
It still feels good. Like even as I grow deeper by faith, and knowing there are verses for each emotion that I feel, like it's so great having to go to that. Like I already know I need to go to Proverbs, I need to go to Psalms, I need to go to Matthew, I need to go to Luke.
Yes. No, I definitely agree. For sure.
Yes. We're going to tie this right on in to our Peachable moment.
Yes.
So what would you say the Peachable moment is in this Good Here episode?
Okay, so I would say my Peachable moment for this episode is for childlike faith is just to keep asking questions. Yes. And then somebody might be like, well, what do you mean? So I would say one way to keep asking questions and being hungry for the truth, hungry for God's word is like, also get plugged in, join a community, right now I just joined my church just started like a group Bible studies, and like right now I'm in like a Bible study with women my age. We're kind of all similar in life, and so I think we're I don't know exactly what book we're going through right now because we just started and we haven't picked a chapter, but I think joining a Bible study and actually studying the Bible and having people who have like-minded, who are in similar spots in life with you and who maybe not, that just helps you stay accountable and keep that childlike fire and faith like burning in you.
That is why community is so important.
Very, very important. And just like I said, being hungry for the truth and really just trying to figure out and really understand who Jesus is and who he was and who he is and how you can be more like him every single day.
Every day. Yes. Every day.
And believing what he says and actually like following it. And
he is the same as he was today and yesterday's.
Yes. So that's my Peachable moment. What is yours?
Yes, my Peachable moment would have to be I say if you look at a child, like if you have a child or you have a family member that's a child and all that type of stuff, study how that child follows you or looks up to you, and apply that to how you look to Christ. For me, I have a nephew, and it don't help that I have a twin and he thinks I'm his mother whenever she's not around. So he'd be like, mommy, he be bothering me, talking about mommy. And he like always wants to like show me things, or he always wants to like come to me when he hurt himself or he don't feel good or anything like that. Like look at that and like apply that to Jesus. Like when I saw like when my nephew ran to me because he didn't even hurt himself, he just wanted somebody to kiss his little finger, and I was just like, I want to do that with Jesus. I want to run to Jesus for just every little thing and apply that. And I was just like, I can do that. And I did, and I started applying that to my life, and it really has strengthened my faith because just a little side tangent, I kind of sometimes I go off on my walk, but like the thing Jesus blessed me with is discernment. Yes. Like it's to the point where I know better, and he holding me accountable, and it's just like I'm doing better. So I think that's the point, because we're all human at the end of the day.
Yes,
we gon' stray, but Jesus is literally, he want all hundreds of his sheep. If he gonna see when the 90
when that one leaves
when
the 99.
that one sheep, like yes, he's gonna see, he's gonna come for that one sheep. So that's just the beauty of having Jesus on our team, on our side. So
definitely agree.
So if you like this episode, please support us. We thank you all so much for the support that we've gotten so far. Like it's amazing. Crazy. It's so beautiful. So if you want to continue to support us, please be sure to like, subscribe. You can follow us on TikTok. You can follow us on Instagram. We are Peachable_moment, and subscribe to this here YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we appreciate you as well. Yes. Alrighty.
Well, I guess that's all we have to say.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us yet again, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.